Assalamu alaikum everyone. I'm Dr. Habib Haider, consultant acute medicine, Royal College of Physician, college tutor, and educational lead of APNE, Association of Pakistani Physicians of Northern Europe. Today we are here to present another exciting webinar regarding the learning and training opportunities in Ireland. APNE is extremely grateful for IPPA, Irish Professional, Pakistani Professional Association to come forward and helping us in this task. Today, we have esteemed speakers and panelists, but none and the least, President of IPPA, Mr. Khalid Sarwar Khan, who is a consultant orthopedic surgeon at RCSI Hospital Group and also a training lead. He is the founder and president of Irish Pakistan Professional Association. Thank you, Mr. Khalid Sarwar Khan, to joining us today.
Thank you.
Apne education team worked very hard in terms of arranging these webinars, and we're extremely grateful to our colleagues to come forward and helping us in these activities. We have made series of webinars regarding the different educational topics, including preparation for the junior doctor medical exam, plus interview preparation. Irish Pakistani Professional Association is a well-known association and is the largest registered organization of doctors in Ireland with over 1,000 consultant and trainee doctors. IPPA Medical Wing has played a pivotal role in shaping the career pathways of Pakistani doctors in Ireland by providing a formal mentor-mentee framework. They have registered more than 15 educational CME webinars with multiple one-to-one mentoring sessions for doctors on top of providing advice of visa, immigration, general life in Ireland, housing, accommodation, among some other aspects. They have successfully helped over 30 Pakistani doctors who have received news of being successful in many trainee scheme interviews in the current session. With selection ongoing, this number will inshallah only rise in the future as well. I'm extremely grateful to our General Secretary, Mr. Nadeem Sajjad Raja, who always very proactive in arranging these education activities despite of his heavy working schedule in terms of managing different organization and other tasks at the same time. Thank you, Raja Saab, for joining us today. I will hand over to you first to say a few words before I will introduce the other panelists of IPPA. Raja Saab, over to you.
Thank you very much, Dr. Habib Adar. You and your team are doing a terrific job and always arranging very useful webinars which are useful for our young doctors, trainee doctors, and we also get like a one CPD or two CPDs. And this time I'm thankful to Dr. Khalid Sarwar Khan Saab and his team, Dr. Mustafa and all the speakers, because this is very important webinar. So our young doctors will find out how they can enter into the training system in the Ireland and they can become a consultant. As well as I'm thankful to our solicitor Mujibur Rahman Saab for providing guidance for on important immigration matters. Association of Pakistani Physicians of Northern Europe is the largest Pakistani doctors organization in the Europe. We have validated membership of more than 2,000 and we represent more than 25,000 doctors across the Europe. So we not only we provide guidance, mentorship our junior doctors, but we also recognize their success and achievements. So thank you very much, everyone. So I hand over back to Dr. Habib Adar. Thank you.
Thank you, Raisa, for your kind words. Now I would like to introduce you the star of the show. Without him, nothing wouldn't be possible. Thank you, Mustafa, who is our beloved friend and lead of medical wing of IPPA. Mustafa Mahmood is a consultant in emergency medicine at St. James Hospital, Dublin, which is the largest acute teaching hospital in Ireland. He is also one of the leads of Irish Pakistani Professionals Association Medical Wing. Thank you, Mustafa, once again to come forward with all of your panelists to helping us in this webinar today. So over to you, please.
Thank you, Habib Saab and Nadeem Saab, for providing this opportunity to collaborate with APNIC and to showcase the work that IPPA does in Ireland and to help other people understand the various training pathways and how IMGs particularly can progress in their career in Ireland because and that has been what our focus has been for the last many years that we've been working with our junior doctors and consultants and formalizing this mentorship pathway for everybody. So without any further ado, I'm just going to quickly introduce my very, very, very valuable panel, which is coming across the board from all different specialties to help tell people what their training pathway is. So today in this webinar, I'll be joined by Dr. Sabuhi Tariq, who is a fellow in minimally invasive gynecology. The fellowship is sponsored by American Associations of Gynecologic Laparoscopists and she is her fellowship is in Rotunda Hospital. She's also served as the assistant master of the Rotunda Hospital, which I believe she's the only IMG to ever have had that position. I'm also joined by Dr. Samreen Tariq, who is a fellow in rheumatology. It's a joint fellowship between rheumatology and respiratory, between connective tissue disorders and international, interstitial lung diseases at the Mater Misericordiae University Hospital in Dublin, which is one of the bigger hospitals in Dublin. We are also joined by Mr. Yasser Bashir, who is a consultant colorectal surgeon at Midland Regional Hospital, Tullamore, and St. James's Hospital, Dublin. And then I'm joined with Dr. Abdullah Rauf Rana, who's a consultant emergency medicine at Our Ladies of Lourdes Hospital in Drogheda. So they will cover various training pathways, the alternative pathway, the formal training pathway. But the most important factor that a lot of people, and we get a lot of questions about, is the immigration, being EU citizen, non-EU citizen. How does that impact an IMG and their progression? For that, we have an expert on immigration, Barrister Mujibur Rahman Awan, who is one of the very senior immigration barristers in Ireland. He is the CEO of Abbott Legal Group, Abbott Law Associates, and Abbott Immigration and Notary Service in Dublin. So he will take questions. He'll briefly tell about various visa issues and immigration pathways for IMGs. So that is what will be our program for today's event. Thank you very much again for providing me with this opportunity. Back to you, Dr. Habib.
Thank you so much, Mustafa, for the introduction of your panelists. And once again, all the panelists who actually came forward today and spending their time, especially on the weekend. I know it's always difficult to juggle around with the family commitments and all those things. So once again, thank you to all of you to come forward. So in terms of the audience, we have a format for the webinar. We're going to have a presentation on different tasks, which Mustafa is going to explain in a few minutes. But then after that, we're going to have a question and answer session for about 20 minutes to 25 minutes. So please feel free to write question in the chat box. I'm afraid you need to switch off your mics all the time. You're going to ask the question at the end on the chat box and we will answer to you just to provide in terms of harmony of the session and without any other disruption. I hope it is okay for everyone. So once again, Mustafa, over to you, and then you can start the session now. Thank you.
Thank you very much. So before we go into the session, I would briefly invite Dr. Khalid Sarwar Khan to say a few words and introduce Irish Pakistan Professional Association.
Thanks, Mustafa. I'll just share my screen and just for the people who have not information about this organization, I would like them to have a brief idea about the organization. We are running for the last nearly 4 years now. So as I already been introduced, so I don't want to waste time. We will focus on the main webinar. But just to give an idea, it's one of its kind organization because we initially started to gather doctors organization, which was a comparatively easy task for us, but we went into a different direction, which I'll explain you in a minute. So it's the Association of Pakistani Professionals, which with a vision to help and support the new generation. We are a group of professionals from different specialties who believe in collective efforts to promote integration in our society without compromising on cultural values, beliefs, and to make Ireland a country where people can live with peace, harmony, and respect. Now, these are our main objectives, which will give you an idea of what we are. So we highlight the achievement of Irish Pakistani professionals, doctors, and all professionals to provide professional support and career guidance to young generation, to integrate the Pakistani community with the different communities in Ireland, and to support community welfare activities. We are comprising of 85% doctor and medical related professionals. And to help us to run this big organization, we divided into two main subgroups, which is IPA Med and IPA Tech. As you can see, IPA Med is mainly for the doctors and other healthcare professionals, and Tech has got ICT engineers, accountants, solicitors, as Mujib Ewan is one of our founding and office bearer and executive members, which is helping us today. And the IT team always on the backbone for all our webinars there. And journalists and all are into this section of rest of the non-doctors. This is just to give you a snapshot of, we have 4 groups. One is the IPA, the original, in which we have both doctors and some of the non-doctors. And then we make it a different group of IPA Med, which is a trainees group. And you can see the number here is 741 members in that group, which is a big number for a small country like Ireland. And since Pakistani origin, over 700 trainees are being giving advice, mentorship, teaching, whatever problem they come across, be it a visa problem, be it an accommodation problem, be it a training issue, or anything like today's webinar. And then we have a tech. And if you see, there's a third group, which is a most important group, and your members who have visited us in the last annual event have noticed that we have given the stage to the youth, and we are promoting youth to come forward and take over the charge and reins of our community and professional community especially. And it has got very new talented people with us. So this is our aims and objective we already discussed. I don't want to waste too much time, just give you a snapshot what we have done and what we do normally. For details, please go on the website for www.ipireland.ie, and you will find all our history and the events and what we have done there. So this is our executive committee. If you can see, it's again, it represents doctors, it represents different people like this Zubair Siddiqui, who's one of the founding member, and he's a general manager in HSC, which is like NHS. So he's related to health, but it's management. And there are many people like Harun and myself and all our different consultants and different professionals like Mujib Ewan Saab is here as well. So now next one is, you can see the different slides, which shows our different way of working. If you see, these are our medical oriented webinars, and it's a number of it, not dozens, it's going to be 100 now. And this is our technical webinar. This is our general guidance for the people. And this is for the number different community problems there. This is a good slide I always show in my presentation. If you see the Apne in founding president Amir Bernie and the founding team there, they visited us in 2019. And from there, the journey is going on. And these are a few snapshots of recent webinars we have done for the medical doctors. This is our CME event for the doctors, in which the Minister for Transport came and the Medical Council President was there. And it was a very successful event. And again, the youth was promoted, and they were given the stage for the annual event. And we also recognize the different achievements of Pakistani professionals and in Ireland. We do some other activities. It is a snapshot. I just don't want to waste time on these. And I think this will give you a flavor what we normally do in Ireland, including doctors and other professionals, and support the doctors to progress in their career and achieve the goals what they are here for. I think I'll end up my this presentation on this. Thanks very much, everybody. Thanks, Habib Saab and Raja Saab.
Thank you. Thank you, Khalid bhai. Excellent presentation, and hats off to you and your team, and you leading from the front. So once again, I think it's hats off to you guys for your efforts, and thank you for inviting us last annual function. We really thoroughly enjoyed with our families as well. And also, it was so encouraging to see lots of youth people came forward and participated in different activities. So I think youth is the future of APNE and IPPA. And once again, thank you to all of your team. So we can ask Mustafa to start the webinar now. Thank you so much, Khalid.
Thanks.
Thank you very much, everyone. So we've gone through briefly introducing our panel. The way we're going to conduct this webinar is we're going to go through the formal training pathway first. We've got two panelists for that. Then we're going to go through the alternative training pathway, what would be the season equivalent in Ireland, what it is in UK. And then we will finally discuss the legal side of things, the immigration side of things. And then we'll open the webinar to Q&As. We'll keep it interactive. If anyone has any questions, while you're listening to the speakers, please put it in the chat box. We will try to answer as we go. And again, there'll be plenty of opportunity at the end of it for asking a question. So without further delay, I'm going to hand over to Hamza, who's going to formally run the rest of the webinar for us. Thank you once again.
Thank you so much, Dr. Mustafa. And I would just like to thank you, Dr. Nadeem Sajjad Radar, Dr. Habib Haider, Dr. Khalid Sarwar Khan, and Dr. Mustafa Mahmood for kindly organizing this very informative webinar, and our panelists for taking time to take part in this webinar on a weekend. So without further delay, I would start the first part of the webinar. So it revolves around the formal training pathways in Ireland. Okay, so we have two panelists. They have already been introduced. The first one is Dr. Samreen Tariq. She is a fellow in rheumatology and connective tissue disorders and interstitial lung diseases at the Mater Hospital, Dublin. And the second one is Dr. Abdullah Rauf Rana. He is a consultant in emergency medicine at Our Lady's Hospital, Drogheda. All right. So without further ado, I would like to hand over to Dr. Samreen Tariq and Dr. Abdullah Rauf Rana.
Good afternoon, everyone. Thank you, IPPA and APNE, for this opportunity. In the interest of time, I would start off with explaining the general internal medicine training pathway in Ireland, and then I will give a brief snippet of my journey through the Irish training system. And then I'll pass over to Abdullah, who would discuss the training pathway for ED medicine. So the general internal medicine training in Ireland is broadly divided in basic specialist training, which is 2 years, and higher specialist training in other subspecialties, which can be 4 to 6 years, depending on the specialty. You are eligible to apply for the basic specialist training after your internship, and it depends on the division or registration with the Irish Medical Council that you hold. As of late, Pakistani graduates who have done internship after 2008, and there are other countries like Australia, New Zealand, Sudan, Malaysia, they can, if they are registered with the General Division of Medical Council, they can apply for basic specialist training without giving any exams. So during the 2 years of basic specialist training, you are rotated through 9 different GIM specialties. And on successful completion of the training, which would include doing various mandatory courses and passing your membership exams, you are eligible to apply for higher specialist training in almost 17 different GIM specialties. The training seats for the basic specialist training on average annually would be 300 for basic specialist training across Ireland. And for the higher specialist training, depends on different specialties, but average take would be 6 to 8 per specialty, ranging from 180 to 200 seats annually across Ireland. Now, given that it's a small country, the training process is definitely competitive given the small number of seats as well. But it is still possible if you tick all the right boxes, if you have appropriate guidance. I came to Ireland in 2014, and I came on general division as an SHO in acute medicine. And at that time, to enter the basic specialist training, I had to give the press exams, which the current Pakistani graduates of 2008 and later are exempted from. It is like a PLAB exam, and you give 2 parts of it. And during my first 1.5 years working as a standalone acute medicine SHO, I was extremely lucky to have guidance of great mentors and supervisors who guided me towards being focused on targeting the training pathway in Ireland. In the first 1 year, I tried to cover my exams, give the press exams, but also at the same time work on my CV and getting various courses from the RCPI website just to boost up my CV and get involved in various audits and QI projects running in the department. I also got involved with the NCHD committee in the hospital, just again to give a boost to my CV. And thankfully, when I applied, I was able to secure a basic specialist training scheme in Limerick for 2 years. When I entered my basic specialist training, thankfully, I was again very lucky to have great mentors and I developed interest in rheumatology. And I think at that stage, it was very important that for the rest 1.5 year, I kept my focus towards rheumatology. During my basic specialist training, I tried to prep up my CV towards rheumatology, targeting all my audits and QI projects towards rheumatology. I met the department heads, the registrars working there, and I was able to get involved in research project going on in the department, which I think is very important. And again, it's about ticking the right boxes. I was able to work on case reports and get poster presentation in the national and international conferences. Again, tick box on the CV. And on the management side, I got involved in the medication committee, medication safety committee of the hospital, and we formed peer-to-peer study groups for the membership clinical exams. So I was able to tick box the management side of things on my CV as well. I went on my maternity leave at the end of my basic specialist training and prepped for my interview while I was on the extended maternity leave due to personal circumstances. And thankfully, I had great mentors, did mock interviews, which again is very important. As much as prepping up the CV is important, it's equally important to prep up the interview as well. So I gave a couple of mock interviews and then I went ahead with the interview for the higher specialist training while being on the maternity leave, which went really well. And thankfully, I was able to secure the rheumatology higher specialist trainee post in Ireland. I would be more than happy to guide and answer any questions that anyone have. But just in the interest of time, I would like to pass over to Abdullah to discuss the ED medicine training scheme.
Thank you, Samreen. So my name is Abdullah. I'm one of the consultants in emergency medicine in Drogheda Hospital. So I will also talk briefly about the emergency medicine scheme and then my journey in terms of what I found useful in preparing for to get onto the scheme. So basically, the emergency medicine training scheme in Ireland is a 7-year long scheme. It is also divided mainly into the basic training, which is called C-STEM, which is core specialty training in emergency medicine. And then after that, for the next 4 years, it's the higher specialty training, which is called A-STEM, which is advanced specialty training in emergency medicine. So this training program is governed by ICEMT, which is the Irish Committee of Emergency Medicine Training. C-STEM is 3 years where you rotate through 18 months of emergency medicine and another 18 months of specialties like pediatrics, anesthesia, and then either ortho or acute medicine, depending on the region of your scheme. Now, during this, you have to have completed membership exams, and there's also human factors and additional courses and requirements that you have to fulfill. Once you have all those, you are then eligible to apply for A-STEM, and then you have to go through another interview process. If you have done C-STEM, you are at a preference in terms of securing a seat for A-STEM. So again, the interview is quite competitive, similarly for C-STEM and A-STEM both. For C-STEM, roughly speaking, there's over 100 applicants we have this year for around 20 odd seats. So the ratio is around 5 candidates to 1 seat, roughly speaking. After you go through your A-STEM, there is another requirements that you have to fulfill. So you have to complete your fellowship exams. You have to, again, have certain courses that you need to do and some human factor elements as well, which you have to fulfill. Once you have done that, you are assessed every year through a formal assessment. And then at the end of the year, there is a final assessment, after which you are awarded your CST, which is the Certificate of Satisfactory Completion of Specialty Training. After that, you're eligible to be then registered in the specialist division of IMC. And or if you want, you can carry on and apply for a fellowship in emergency medicine. There are different subspecialties that you can apply as a fellowship then afterwards. So the training itself is quite competitive, and likewise, through Samreen's journey, I came to Ireland in 2014 as well. And in 2016, I had my first CSTEM interview. Again, it's quite similar in terms of what Samreen has said, making sure you've ticked all the right boxes. So I also had great mentors, thankfully, who guided me in terms of what I needed to do, how to prepare for the interview. There's audits and research that I was part of. I also did some special, like, emergency medicine relevant courses, and then applied for CSTEM. For ASTEM, it is a little bit more competitive. There is some mandatory basic minimum requirements that you have to have. And then again, in addition to that, there is some additional courses that I did, which I found that was helpful in terms of building up my CV and making me more competitive for the application. So there is a guideline available for anyone who's interested in terms of the eligibility requirements, as well as the pathway itself on ICEMT. If you just search for that, it is available. And similarly, if there's any further questions anyone has in terms of the pathway itself or anything else, I'd be more than happy to answer that. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Dr. Tariq and Dr. Rana, for such a comprehensive review of the formal training pathways in Ireland. So, our next session will be revolving around the alternative training track. Okay, so it will be led by Dr. Sabuhi Tariq. She is a fellow in minimally invasive gynecology, and she is a member of the American Association of Gynecology and Laparoscopists. She works at the Rotunda Hospital, Dublin. And she will be joined by Mr. Yasir Bashir. He is a consultant colorectal surgeon. He works at the Midland Regional Hospital at Tullamore and St. James Hospital, Dublin. Thank you so much. I'll hand it over to Dr. Tariq and Mr. Bashir now.
Thank you very much, Hamza, and thank you everyone for joining. You're very welcome to the session. I'm Sabuhi, and as Mustafa and Hamza introduced me, thank you for your kind words. I'm currently working in Rotunda Hospital, and I'm doing my fellowship in minimally invasive gynecology. So I would just walk you through what alternative pathway for specialist training is in Ireland. Because I work in obstetrics and gynecology, my talk will be focused on that. However, obviously, it's kind of similar in many other specialities. If you look at the specialist training for obs and gyne in Ireland, it is a total of 8 years, with 3 years of basic specialist training, where the first 2 years you work as an SHO and then you work as a junior registrar for the 3rd year. You then have to complete your MRCPI and then apply for the higher specialist training, which is another 5 years. So it's the total of 8 years. I would like to focus my talk on why I chose the alternative pathway. And I think a lot of people might have similar circumstances. There were 2 main reasons. The first reason was I had already finished my FCPS from back home in Pakistan, and I thought that I am overqualified to work as an SHO for another 3 years and then apply for high specialist training. I thought that it would be easier for me and quicker if I chose alternative pathway. And the second thing is that it's a very competitive specialty. Not that I'm discouraging anybody for competition, but I just feel that, when you have limited number of seats and while you're waiting, even to get on the HST scheme, instead of wasting that time, you can actually use that time and count it towards your training. So in terms of how this works is you have to, once obviously you have to be on the Irish Medical Council registration. And you have to clear your MRCPI, which is the membership of Royal College of Ireland. In my case, I did it in Obs and Gynae, obviously. And then followed by that, you have to have 5 years of experience working as a registrar in different training hospitals across Ireland. During those 5 years, you are expected to complete all of the higher specialty training courses and complete a logbook. And what I would suggest for anybody who wants to pursue this pathway is to, as soon as you clear your MRCPI, you should get the specialist training pack. Yasir, who will be talking to you after me, will share the link for that pack. You can request it from the Irish Medical Council. What this pack involves is it takes you through all the pathway of what you need to do during these 5 years for yourself to qualify for the specialist registration. That involves completing a logbook, having different rotations through training institutes for 5 years, and also to complete all of your courses. Now, that is that's something that, that's the tick boxes that you have to do. But in real terms, to actually be considered for a specialist registration and to be able to land good consultant posts, I think it's of paramount importance of how you take yourself through the career. Do not let yourself don't let yourself down by thinking, oh, if you're not on the specialist registration, that you're any less than the people who are on the training scheme, and that there are things that you cannot achieve. Which what I suggest, especially in Obs and Gynae, is that you should aim for bigger hospitals. There are 3 maternity hospitals in Dublin, and then there are other hospitals which provide gynecology training, including James's Hospital, Tala, Mater. What I suggest is that you should aim to get jobs in these bigger hospitals, and there are multiple reasons for it. One is that you get better training opportunities, obviously, because you get more exposure. Another very important thing is networking. So you can, obviously you work with the senior consultants, and these are the people who are also involved in the NSTs and will be involved in signing off your applications. So it always is better if you are if you know them personally and you're able to make an impact and show them that how you're qualified to be on the specialist register. What I suggest is that everybody who is doing this alternative pathway should apply for specialist registration at least 6 months in advance before you finish your training. The reason is that this is an approximate time for the processing of the application, so that by the time you finish your training, you should be on the specialist registration and ready to apply for consultant posts. Research, as Samreen and Abdullah said, is of paramount importance. It's really, really important to have that on your CV. So as you go through different jobs, you have to make sure that you're doing your audits, you're doing your publications, you're doing your research. My take-home message for everybody is please aim high. I was not on any kind of training scheme. However, I was able to secure the fellowship, which is the first in Ireland from the AGL, which goes to show I competed with people who were on the SPR scheme. I competed with international candidates as well. Basically goes to show that, if you're working hard and you're putting in all your effort, the system is very fair, and you will have opportunities to show that, you're hardworking and you've got what it takes. Thank you.
Good evening. My name is Yasir Bashir. I'm a consultant colorectal surgeon. I'm basically mainly posted in Midland Regional Hospital, Tullamore, and St. James's Hospital. As Sabuhi has already mentioned, that this is an alternative pathway, which is called Caesar in UK. Here, what we are trying to do is that we are trying to mimic the same kind of a training program, which is already done by our training people on the training scheme. So you are trying to you are trying to tell the registering body that you have accomplished a similar kind of training which your training colleagues have done. So the only difference between this is that you are doing it on your own rather than being supported by a college or somebody who are trying to make sure that you achieve the right post for that training. So you have to get these posts by yourself, and you have to put this effort by yourself. So the good mentors are very important in that respect, that they guide you which hospitals you have to work for. It's very easy to get laid back and go to a smaller hospital where there is less workload, but at the end of the day, you want to work in the hospitals where your training will be counted for. You have to work in the hospitals where there are SPRs or the training registrars are present, because if you are working in the hospital where there is no training SPR, your training will not be counted towards your registration. So that is very important factor. I know many of my colleagues where they have worked in smaller hospitals and their training is not counted and they have difficulty with Irish Medical Council at the end. It's very clear in the registration. So if you don't know it, you have to have this registration form in front of you. When you apply for this, you have to have certain credentials. They don't, if you apply for it, they don't give everyone the specialist register application form. So you have to have your fellowships signed, done, your FRCS exam done for surgery. I'm not sure about your medicine, that whether they provide it after MRCPI or not. But for the surgery, you have to have your FRCS exam done before they will provide you with this application. As Samreen mentioned earlier, that there is a rule in Irish Medical Council that you have to have your internship after 2008. My internship was started in 2008 and finished in 2009, so I was not eligible for the training scheme. This is a training of necessity. This is a pathway of necessity. If you are not eligible for the training scheme, or if you are overqualified, as Sabuhi mentioned, that you think that it's very difficult for you to go back to a SHO job to do that, then you can use that training pathway. The main goal is to become a consultant. And as you can see, Mr. Khalid Sarwar and myself, we are consultant surgeons. And many times it's thought that the surgery is a field which is very difficult to achieve. You can see that we have achieved the highest qualification or highest level in that field. So it is achievable. It is a fair system. There was no mentorship when we started. Now, because of Dr. Khalid Sarwar and Dr. Mustafa's kind efforts, we have a association here which is guiding people what to do for their training schemes. I'm involved in the CST interviews and IMGs for CPSP and Sudanese students. It's a very fair system. It's not that there is any malice against anyone. If you have ticked the right boxes, you will get the training scheme. I'll share my screen and you will be able to see multiple participants. Okay, so if I share my screen. Okay. I'll bring this application form up here and you can see that there are multiple things which you have to achieve. So your minimum of 2 years of core specialist training is required. There will be few things which are required and there are few things which are desired. Required you have to achieve, and there is no things around it. If you haven't got these things, there is no point putting the application there. It's a very costly application. It takes around 5,000 to 6,000 application for them to assess your all your papers. When I submitted my application, the paperwork was like 5 kilograms, which I sent through the post. So it's not that we have to submit anything extra. It's the same amount of paperwork which the training scheme people do, but they do it on their timely fashion. They do it every year, every month, but we have to do it at the end of our training so that they can assess it. So one of the basic thing is you have to have 2 years of core training, which is because we are not on the training scheme. So we have to have an equivalence of that. So I have worked in a hospital which has students or the SHOs who are on the CST scheme. So I worked in that hospital for 2 years. Then you have to have 8 years of higher specialist training. So 8 years in the hospitals where there are SPRs. So SPRs are usually in the bigger hospitals. They're not in the small regional hospitals. So you have to be careful about applying for those hospitals where there is no SPR or CST student SHOs. It's a good way to enter into the country, but not to waste too much time in order to progress in your career, because your end task is to become a consultant. You don't want to remain SHO or registrar all your life. So your task is to fill this form as quickly as possible and get to a consultant post. Then you have to have a specialist qualification. The specialist qualification, which is recognized by the Irish Medical Council for a surgeon, is FRCS. No other qualification is recognized for that. There are other fellowships which people apply with, but they are always rejected. So you always have to wait for your FRCS to be done. Don't, again, same thing, don't apply until and unless you have your FRCS exam in your book, in your hand, because otherwise it will be just sent back to you. Then your on-call rotas, because you will be working in the same hospitals what the HST students are doing. So you will be the same durations, your 8 years structures, everything. Then you go down, and in the logbook, this is the important factor. So there is an e-logbook for RCSED, Royal College of Surgeons of Edinburgh. They have a free e-logbook which helps you to register all your cases. So you have to have 1,600 operative cases under your belt before you can apply for that. Your endoscopy will not be counted in it. And my friends who are applying from Pakistan and stuff like that, because you don't do endoscopy, this is not going to affect you. But the problem is that you have to have your application signed by 3 FRCS registered people. So it's difficult to apply from Pakistan for these kind of things. So you have to have an Irish experience for these things. Then there are a few courses. These are mandatory courses. Excuse me. CRISP course, ATLS, your certificate in training in endoscopy, your JAG accreditation, vascular training course is basically for vascular surgeons. This is not for us. Leadership skills. So this is basically you have to illustrate that you are able to do a lead, to be present in a leadership role. I have done a course which is basically a diploma in leadership and management. So these are available when you come here, and now there are a lot of supports available from our HSC as well. Previously, the fund was very minimum. It was 850 when I started. Now it is quite generous with 3,000 euros in it. So you can do a lot of courses and a lot of diplomas when you are working as well. And these are part-time courses and part-time diplomas. So you can do that. Then you can see there are audits, and research is desirable. It's not mandatory, but your audits are mandatory. They are required. So this is a huge list. So then you have to have membership bodies, organizations, and then your study days. Everything is included in that. So I'll just stop sharing it here. So at the end of the day, you basically have to illustrate that you have achieved the same kind of competence what the people achieve after doing their training. So it's not impossible. It is quite a lengthy pathway, as I showed you, that you have to have 2 years of core surgical training, 8 years of higher surgical training. That itself takes 10 years. I came to Ireland in 2011, and in 2023 I became a consultant. So it took me maybe 12 years, so 2 years more than what a training as a person will take. So it is not that it's over expanded, so you have to have too many years wasted in that. It took me extra 2 years, but that actually helped me because I was doing a teaching for Trinity College Dublin, and it helped me improve my research portfolio. So it was an investment from me to get to a competitive state for a consultant post, because when you go for a consultant post, you have to have a research backing you for these, because you are up against a lot of trainees who are doing research all the time. So when I applied for this post, for the consultant post, I had 30 publications in all the peer-reviewed journals. So these kind of things you have to back up in order to get the consultant post. But it is opportunity for the people who are not either eligible for the training pathway, who have tried and were not able to get onto that scheme, or who are competent for this SHO job to go back to that. So this is a pathway which is present for a lot of people. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Mr. Bashir and Dr. Sabuhi. It was certainly a very informative session about the alternative training pathways in Ireland. So the take-home point is plan your application ahead and keep your goals clear. Thank you so much. And next, we will be moving towards immigration in session three. It will revolve around the recent immigration changes and their impact on the training for the IMGs. It will be led by Barrister Mujibur Rahman Evan. He is a CEO at Abbott Legal Group and Immigration Services.
Assalamu alaikum, everyone.
Barrister Evan.
Thank you very much for inviting me to this webinar. I will say I can see the time is actually very short for me. I will try my best effort to concentrate on relevant stamps to medical professionals that will help them to understand. Otherwise, there are a lot of different, I can share my
Just one thing to add, Mujib Saab. Don't
Yeah.
worry about the time. If you're going to be stick in terms of brief presentation now, we will arrange another separate webinar for in terms of legalities and new law of immigration in Ireland. I and
Yeah.
Mustafa can liaise with you, and then we can arrange. So we can ask the people to write down their question, and if we can't answer or you can't able to elaborate on everything now, we can arrange another webinar.
All right, that's fine. Thank you very much. Yeah, there are actually different types of permissions granted to different categories of migrant in Ireland. For example, if we mostly from the visa required countries, Pakistan, India, Bangladesh, and others, they need Irish visa to enter Ireland. And if our family members are applying to join us permanently other than the spouse and children, then that's called pre-clearance. They can actually go through this. Mostly that's applicable to the parents. Every now and then people actually contact us in relation to their parents' application. So that's involved the pre-clearance. And after the pre-clearance is granted, then they apply normal visa, which is granted for 90 days. After 90 days, when they are issued the Irish visa, then they can actually send their passport and for the IRP registration. So then on a yearly basis, they are given stamp 0 to the parents or grandparents, as the case may be. And there was a good thing during the COVID for medical professionals. Stamp 1H was introduced because normally the doctor were coming on the stamp 1 for a 1 year, 12 months rotation. Every year they have to renew it. But due to this change, that is the stamp 1H, that gives a 2 years duration of registration with the GNIB, and plus their family member, for example, spouses, can get 1G. That means they can work. Before they were given stamp 3, that means that was reckonable towards Irish nationality, but not giving them the right to work. But now any spouse of any medical professionals, they can actually get the stamp 1G and they will be able to work as well. So that is the good thing I will say for medical professional. And if I will scroll down, I'm not sure that you can see my screen. Let's see.
It's not sharing, Mujib Saab. You share.
It's not sharing. All right. Sorry, then I was looking on myself. So that is the, can you see now or not?
No, still not. If you share screen.
Yeah, I just pressed that share, but not sure why it is not coming up. Let's see, I think.
Yeah,
now
we
maybe,
can see.
yeah.
We can see.
Sorry for that, because normally we used to do the face-to-face and without sharing. So that was an introduction. That different type of immigration stamps is a cluster of stamps. Normally the doctors come across with the stamp 1, stamp 1H now, and stamp 3, stamp 4. This is the anomaly because when they are on the old regime of stamps, stamp 1, if they complete 5 years, they can apply for the Irish naturalization or for the long-term stamp. Long-term stamp is called stamp 5, and for some people after stamp 5 they can apply for stamp 6 who do not want to hold Irish citizenship due to some reason. For example, the Indians cannot have two nationalities. Luckily Pakistani national they can have, so that is for the stamp 6 for those type of nationalities, is that they can come and work and go back so without having Irish citizenship, but they will be given the same status for on stamp 6. So the stamp 3, normally what happens, many my actually client, they are doctors and they are having their family, they are having Irish nationality, but when their family member comes, they are given stamp 3 instead of stamp 4. Many cases were found on this way, but you know that the immigration officers is generally there is a presumption that they know every law in relation to immigration, but they don't, and they mistakenly actually grant a stamp 3, which is the wrong. And we have changed for many peoples because Irish citizens family member are eligible for stamp 4 instead of stamp 3. Stamp 3 is only given to the stamp uh, migrant who hold the stamp 1, stamp 4, stamp 5, stamp 1G. But at this moment, because stamp 2 holder can't actually have their family member, so they are the student generally. And stamp 1H was a very good move for the medical professionals, and stamp 1G for their family members. And maybe many doctors know about that, and many maybe still not familiar with this change. But if their family member are on stamp 3, they can apply for stamp 1G, and that will give them the eligibility to work full time in Ireland. So that is the, and I covered the stamp 5, stamp 6, stamp 4. So all doctors on the old regime on stamp 1, they can actually upgrade to stamp 1H if they have a 2 years work permit, or to if they already completed 5 years, then they can upgrade to stamp 4. And some of the doctors' work permit falls under critical skills scheme. That means after completion of 2 years on critical under the critical skill schemes work permit, they can upgrade after 21 or 22 months to stamp 4, which is a good move for those who falls under these critical skills migration. Stamp 0, especially for the parents and some, I will say, you know, that grandchild, if they are fallen in that category due to some death or some other emergency situation, they can actually fall under that. But mostly stamp 0 is the parents and grandparents of any type of migrant. That is not for only doctors. But this is a good thing that stamp 0 holder can apply for naturalization on completion of 5 years. We have done for many stamp 0 holder because that is not otherwise uh, reckonable towards social payments or any other benefits, or they cannot work, but still that actually qualifies for Irish naturalization.
Sorry, Mujib Rawan Saab, just interrupting. Have you got slides describing these, because you're on the introduction slide there on the screen?
All right, sorry, I was moving this.
No,
For example, there are different type of permission to enter Ireland. Is the C visa is for the just family visitor or the tourist. D visa is for long-term settlement for joining their family members. Pre-clearance, and as I said, that if someone is parents applying from say Pakistan, India, Bangladesh, and other many visa required countries, they need pre-clearance first, which is made an application to the Dublin office with all relevant documents. Once it is approved, then they make a visa application to the relevant Irish embassy, and then they are issued Irish visa for 90 days. Then they send again documents to the Dublin office, and they endorse the passport and issue IRP for 12 months, which is renewable every year. Re-entry visa was for all the stamp holders before, but now there is another good thing of the COVID period, that they scrapped this scheme. Now, if you are holding the IRP, which is called Irish Residence Permit or GNIB card, that means you don't need the re-entry visa. Yes, the children under 16, they don't have IRP or GNIB card. They were required to have the re-entry visa. The re-entry visa is basically the sticker like a visa for 5 years, 1 year, or whatever the duration according to the parents. But at the moment that is suspended due to some reason, and maybe it will be. But due to the suspension of this re-entry visa, many people have problem while traveling back to Ireland. It was highlighted to the Irish authorities, as well as they have issued the notification. But some, I will say, 1 or 2% cases, they face the problem, especially some people from Ireland, if they want Turkish visa or any other country visa, but their child don't have visa, then they have problem. So we make our submissions to the minister on that basis, then we get the re-entry visa. But normally, then people avoid to do the visa because that takes time. So they postpone their visit to those countries. Stamp zero, as I said, that it is for there are different categories people, but who are financially sound and have their own income, they can have this to live, or any family member of any migrant or Irish national, they can actually have that stamp zero. So this is a bit covering every sort of migration, but this stamp does not allow or give any entitlement to work in this country. That's the main difference in this. As I said, stamp 1 is divided into 4 categories: stamp 1, stamp 1A, stamp 1G, and stamp 1H. 1H is dedicated for doctors, but stamp 1, maybe you know everyone, they were initially granted stamp 1 before 2021 or 2022, before COVID. And stamp 1A is especially for accountants, trainee accountants. Stamp 1G is now given to the spouses of medical work permit holders, spouses, and any other graduate who has done the graduation for 2 years, 1 year as per their actually graduation. That actually entitle them to work without work permit, but that is a renewable, that to gain the experience and to secure work permit. So next we will go to stamp 1A. As I said, that it is for the accountants, which is for 12 months or for the duration of their account training and accountancy. 1G is for those who have finished their studies, as I said, wish to get employment under the 3rd level graduate program. The permit is valid for 12 months unless you have done your master's study, which adds another additional 12 months. So that's the difference. If you want to keep working after your stamp 1G expire, you must apply for work permit. Or if sometime in some scenario, some people have their child born with who holds the Irish citizenship by birth, then they can actually upgrade to stamp 4 under Zambrano case law. Stamp 1H, as I said, that this is a permit as an NCHD, non-consultant hospital doctors in any public hospital or healthcare facility during the 2-year validity period of their permit. And their spouses will get stamp 1G to be able to work in Ireland. Stamp 2, this is dedicatedly to the students of a different type of courses. So, and they are allowed to work 20 hours. But in this country, student cannot have their dependent as compared to the England, UK, but they are going to cut down those dependency visa for students. And there are different, I will say, terms and condition. I don't think so. I need to go through each and every. I will go to stamp 3 as in the permission to stay in Ireland for a specified period. Specified period made the main sponsors period of permission. If that is extendable, this extends as well. And the good thing with stamp 3, this is a reckonable towards nationality. For example, if someone is on stamp 3 for 3 years and they give a birth to the baby will be the Irish citizen by birth, and which is a very good thing, I will say. Otherwise, their stamp 3 holders are not entitled to work. And if they want to work, they have to apply for the work permit, which is easy for them to get to work permit as compared to the other categories. I will say we will go to the stamp 4, which is the more popular and loved stamp because everyone wants that stamp because that gives a lot of opportunities. And otherwise, because they are free to work anywhere without any restriction, but still this stamp actually considered as a temporary stamp because it's renewable on the basis of 1 year, 2 year, 3 years. So the maximum duration of this stamp is 3 years and the minimum is 1 year. And sometimes some immigration officer even give a 1 year permission under this stamp. Even the applicant is eligible for 3 years, but because they don't know all the time, that's the stamp category, so they make mistake. Stamp 5, permission to stay in Ireland without change to conditions in Ireland time. Stamp 5 is only available to those who have completed 96 years of legal residency in Ireland. So it applies to stamp 1, stamp, not only it excludes the stamp 2 holders, but other than stamp 2, if someone completed 96 months, and sorry, there should be the word 8 years or 8 years, 96 months or 8 years, they are eligible to apply for the stamp 5. As I said initially, that is stamp 6 only for those people who do not want to have the dual nationality due to some reasons. Then they can apply for stamp 6. It is equivalent to ILR as is granted in England, UK. So in Ireland, this is called stamp 6, while in the United Kingdom, it is called indefinite leave to remain. So that's all. If there's any question I can take, I think, let me see, I will go to the question sessions. Without job. Yeah, if someone was a different question, I will say I have to go through all and I have to type because just I'm saying someone was saying.
Majib Saab, sorry, Majib Saab, I'm just going. We'll take all the questions in the end and the Q&A sessions, and the questions that are related to this, I will divert to you, and you can answer. You don't have to type them; you can just answer them verbally if
Yeah.
you.
Yeah,
That's
thank you.
It's just easier.
Okay. So thank you so much, Mr. Best Awan. It was a very comprehensive session covering the Irish immigration laws. For those who are joining us just now, just be aware that we will have a recording available on our social media pages. And we are so the questions that have not been answered, we have been keeping an eye on them, and they will certainly be answered by our speakers and our organizers. So, but please, in the meantime, keep the questions coming. Thank you so much. And I will be directing towards Dr. Habib Haider and Dr. Mustafa Mahmood to lead the Q&A session, please.
Can we stop sharing the screen, please?
Oh, sorry. Thank you.
So thank you, Hamza, for excellent moderation during the presentation. And thank you all the panelists once again for your valuable input and excellent talk. And I can see the enthusiasm from the participant. There are lots of questions. And thank you to all IPPA team, including Khalid Bhai, who answered already most of the question. So I think few questions still are pending. We can keep an eye on the chat box, which once again, thank you to Hamza. He already forward some of the question to us. So I will first ask Mustafa to start the question, and then I'm going to follow him. Mustafa, over to you, please.
Okay, so the first question that we have, so we have answered a lot of questions as we were going on your chat. So we'll probably not go back to them because it's just going to create a lot of noise. We're going to answer the questions that we have not been able to answer on the chat box. So the first question that I have is, I have MPhil in anatomy. Do I have any opportunities on teaching side? Is it important to have publications to be able to secure SHO jobs in Ireland? How can you get a teaching post? Does anyone want from the panel wants to take it?
Uh, I'll go for the teaching post because I have done teaching for Trinity College Dublin. There are advertised like any other jobs, and most of them basically they are involving a clinical and teaching commitments. Anatomy, was not involved in the anatomy teaching, but they are purely basic surgical jobs, so basic teaching jobs. So I'm not aware of that, but all the other teaching jobs can be secured. They are advertised like any other SHO or a registrar job, but most of them they are registrar level jobs. And they are advertised from the colleges like Trinity, UCD, RCSI, on their websites, and they are usually advertised a little bit in advance before the usual SHO and the registrar jobs are advertised. So they are a bit more competitive in the way that you have to have some kind of teaching experience. If you are working here in Ireland, most of the hospitals have students in present. So if you are involved in their bedside teaching or tutorials, you can get a certification or a letter from your department head that you were involved in the teaching of these students in the bedside or the lectures, and that will actually help you boost your things. And audits and research, they are always a positive. So it basically depends on who you are up against. If your competition is strong, then you have to have a stronger CV. There's no
Yasir, just to add on to that, so pure teaching jobs, the way you have in Pakistan, are generally not an option here. There is always a clinical component.
Yes.
Most universities, most medical schools will not sponsor you to come here to be an anatomy demonstrator.
Yeah.
So there's the side of sponsoring your visa because you have to be in a certain class, and Mujib Saab can correct me. There's a class that you can get a work permit for, and there's a class that if you have to first look in within your local EU cohort, and if you can get people from there, that is fine. If not, then you go abroad. So I suppose pure teaching jobs like a demonstrator in anatomy or demonstrator in physiology are not available generally to the general cohort. You can get them if you're working here as a registered doctor and you're associated with a college, for example, RCPI. For example, I'm a clinical tutor with RCSI, but I'm a clinical tutor with RCSI because I work with a college that works with RCSI. So I think pure teaching jobs are not an option. You will have to have
a clinical post,
some sort of clinical component to them. Habib sir, do you want to take the next question?
Thank you so much, Mustafa, and once again, thank you, Asif. In terms of second question, I have that regarding someone asking about that, what is the stream for entering pathology, especially hematology. So they were asking about in terms of any training opportunities from the hematology wise, which is I believe regarding the medicine. So anybody who would like to answer this question, please, from the panelist side.
Yes, I will take this question. So for hematology higher specialist training, again, you are eligible to apply for hematology training if you have BST in general internal medicine. So again, in those 2 years, you will be rotated through 9 different specialties, including hematology as an SHO. But my advice would be that if you know you want to pursue hematology, during those 2 years, prep up your CV and target it towards hematology. Get involved in projects in hematology and get audits and QIs related to hematology. You can get more information on our CPI website because there is a separate basic specialist training of 2 years in histopathology. So I think this question was like they asked about pathology as well as hematology. Hematology, you can enter after GIM BST training, but for histopathology, there is a separate basic specialist training, and the information is given on the RCPI website.
Can I add a little bit about hematology? Because I am consultant microbiologist and I was trained in United Kingdom, and I'm also member of Royal College of Pathologists. So it is actually hematology or microbiology, histopathology. These are super specialities. So hematology trainees are actually joint trainees of medicine as well as hematology trainees. So they need to complete the basic training in medicine. In United Kingdom, that is called as IMT. So after completing that training and passing MRCP exam, so they are eligible to enter into the hematology training. So hematology training is a 5 years training. So during this training, they need to pass exams, fellowship of Royal College of Pathologists, because they have already done MRCP, so they are member of Royal College of Physicians. So after completion of these exams and training and every year progressing in the training, so they achieve consultant status or specialist status. So it's the same training in Ireland and in the United Kingdom. Yes, as Dr. Tariq mentioned, Royal College of Physicians of Ireland, they have a separate section of pathology. But basically, all the young doctors, whoever want to gain experience or training in pathology, so they need to look at the Royal College of Pathologists of UK website as well. And if they need more information, so there is a hematology section. So please go through that section. And if you need any if you want to ask any question or if you have got any query, so please contact Royal College of Pathologists directly. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much, Dr. Nadeem sir. So there was a question regarding the alternative pathway regarding trauma and orthopedics. So I have Dr. Khalid Sarwar Khan sir, and he will be answering that question. Thank you so much.
Thanks very much, Inam. I think this is important, and I'll just refer back to what Dr. Samreen has mentioned regarding the alternate pathway in gynecology and other specialty. So it's important for people who are coming, if they are trained, already done FCPS or a lot of training in Pakistan, they are suitable for them, or those people who cannot secure a higher surgical training in orthopedics, trauma and orthopedics in Ireland. They have to keep their hopes up, as Yasir Bashir has mentioned, and keep them training to the level of an SPR, do the research, do the exams, and pass the intercollegiate specialty board. So it is mandatory to pass the exam and get your CV up to the level. Then these applications are assessed, as Dr. Bashir has given the full detail of that surgical assessment scheme called UK Incisor, and here is an alternate pathway. I have few colleagues with me who have done the alternate pathway in trauma and orthopedics, and they have validated their experience against the higher surgical trainees in trauma and orthopedics. And their application are applied first to the Royal College and then go to a medical council. And there were incidents in which sometimes the trauma and orthopedic unit in Royal College may not be completely agreeing, but the medical college can overrule their objection and can validate on the specialist register. Once they have the specialist register, they apply for the consultant job and can secure a consultant job. So again, the same point, your CV has to go. You have to pass all the relevant examination, especially intercollegiate specialty board, which is in UK and Ireland is of 4 colleges together, and you should have some super specialty fellowship as a desirable qualification.
Thank you, Khalid Saab. Thank you very much. Sabui, the next question I'll direct to you. So someone has asked that they're pursuing FCPS in gynecology in Pakistan, and what pathway should they be taking if they're coming to Ireland?
Thank you, Mustafa. So it's very similar to my situation because I did FCPS in Obs and Gynae back home in Pakistan. There are 2 ways again. So once you've secured Irish Medical Council registration, what I suggest is that you apply for jobs in Ireland. These jobs could be, even if you take an SHO job for 6 months, that is, I would suggest that you do that because it helps you get into the system and know how things work here. Once you're in the system, you have 2 ways to go about it. Either you could apply for the basic specialist training and take that route of 3 years of basic specialist training followed by 5 years of higher specialist training. Or what you could do is you finish your MRCPI and you should be eligible to so the good thing about FCPS Obs and Gynae from Pakistan is that it exempts you from part 1 of MRCPI. So you don't have to do that. You can directly apply for part 2 and the OSCE exam. I suppose if you've done FCPS, obviously you have more than 2 years experience because that's one of the prerequisites to apply for the MRCPI exam. Once you've done the MRCPI exam, you can then pursue the alternative pathway, which involves, again, as I said before, 5 years of training in different training hospitals. If you're going by the specialty training route, then you have to do the basic specialist training and then again apply for the higher specialist training in Obs and Gynae. The coming to the basics, the first step really is to secure a job in Ireland, whether it's an SHO job or a registrar job. And once you're here, you can take it from there. You can choose either one of the pathways.
Thank you, Sanveen. So the take-home message is essentially your own, Sabui, sorry, that this is your own choice. Which pathway do you want to take? Do you want to pursue the longer, more competitive 8-9 years? It's going to take long anyway, but it is a personal choice essentially that if people are willing to go down to an SHO for a couple of years and then take on that. So it's purely a personal choice. That both pathways, they're there for grabs and they're both really competitive. You have to work hard. You have to work really, really hard to get through either of them, and you have to be very exceptionally good. Dr. Heather, you want to ask the next question?
So I think next question more or less the same as Dr. Subhi said. There's somebody asking about FRCS in terms of FCP, in terms of ENT wise. That they have they're asking about the UK wise. If they have MRCS in ENT, basically in UK, how are they going to apply for alternative pathway in terms of ENT fellowship or ENT high specialty training in Ireland?
So I think Yasser and Khalid Saab have covered that in detail. So it's essentially the same thing. The basic process is same, whether it's ENT, whether it's orthopedics, whether it's obs and gynae, colorectal surgery. You have to show the Medical Council of Ireland and the relevant college that your training, whatever you have done, is equivalent to what a trainee SPR is doing. Okay, so you have to work in the same hospitals, you have to produce the same amount of research, you have to do the same amount of courses, you have to do everything that they do. The only difference is that you will be doing all that on your own. So it's more tougher. I came through the formal training program, so RCSI organized everything for me. Sabui came through the alternative program. So Sabui has to organize everything for herself. So it is more competitive and tougher coming through. I got the easy bit, she's doing the difficult bit.
Okay. Thank
Can
you
I
so much.
just,
On this,
sorry, can I just
Yeah,
add to
Dr.
this just a little thing that, if you're pursuing the alternative pathway, especially in a surgical specialty, and I'm sure Yasir would endorse to this as well, as you go along, please keep a note of all the cases you're doing, maintain your logbook as you go along. It is almost impossible to go back and, get all of your rotas, get all of the surgeries that you've done in retrospect. So, this is one of the things that I wish somebody told me earlier when I started working in Ireland, because then I had to kind of go back and look at all the cases that are done, which is, it's a tedious task. So if you're already in the system, please keep record of all the cases that you've done, because you will have to show that. Make sure that you get your consultants to sign all of your OSATs as you go along, because if you've left a hospital and you go back 3 years or 4 years later, the consultants might have moved. It might be some of them have retired and stuff like that. So it's very, very difficult to do it in retrospect. So do it prospectively.
Yeah, and the
Sorry,
second
one thing,
also thing is,
or-
sorry, one thing I want to add, that when you go back to those hospitals and ask for the list of the patients you have done, because of the GDPR rules, they are very reluctant in giving you the list of the patients you have done. So you have to be careful that when you are there, it's easy for you to get all the data and put it up. But when you go back, you need someone who knows you, because as Sabui mentioned, that a lot of people are moved. So the manager might have moved, the person who's new there might not recognize you and don't want to give it to you. So I passed the exam in February and I applied for the specialist register in October. So it took a long time for me to get all the paperwork ready, because again, as Sabui said, nobody told me that you have to have a prospective arrangement and organize everything as you go along.
Yeah, I
On
think on
this
the same
note-
point, sorry, on
Sorry.
the same point, I just want to make, I know when I was training, thankfully I was in a training scheme. I didn't need, but still that was paperwork. Some hospital has computerized. Now all hospitals are computerized. All you have to do when you finish there, request whoever theater in charge or whatever the system available, get those theater summary printed, what you have involved with, and get it signed by the clinical director or your surgical director or your trainer, and keep a record hard copy. If it's possible, soft copy, if they can email. And I'm not sure, will the non-trainees can be logged into the system that we have for the trainees. I think FCPS trainees probably have a system. They can keep the logbook on the soft copy there as well.
Another, it's only a very minor detail again, but I found it important, is that, as Dr. Khalid said, that, hospitals who have an electronic record, they can, yes, 100%, they can give you a summary of all the cases that you've done, let's say, in the last 6 months or a year. But it's very important that when they're logging in the system, that you make sure that your name is marked as a primary surgeon, because if you're not marked as a primary surgeon, let's say if it's marked under your consultant, it will be, again, very, very hard for you to go back and look into your cases and see what you've done.
Thank you, Sabuhi, Khalid Saab, Yasir Saab. You have very extensively covered the alternative track. There's a question that I am currently doing FCPS training in pediatrics. What are the appropriate courses for me? I think I'll probably answer that because I'm involved in pediatric training here in Ireland. So for anyone and everyone, when you're looking for a job, and this is a question that we get quite frequently, that what courses should I do? So your course should be appropriate to the job that you're applying for. If you're doing FCPS training in pediatrics and I'm looking at your CV, so I want to see APLS on it, I want to see NRP on it, I want to see PALS on it, I want to see child safety on it, things like this. So be very focused on the job that you're looking for, and courses should be relevant. A lot of the times people have done courses completely randomly. I had someone applying to me for an adult ED registrar job, and they had done a course in gynecology. My hospital is an adult only hospital which does only do gynae malignancy. So, make sure that it makes sense. Don't just do things randomly to bulk up your CV. Your CV should be in a shape, it should be targeted to a specific job. There's lots of questions for Mujib Saab. Mujib Saab, how can parents visiting on short stay visa be extended to stamp zero long stay visa?
Thank you, but I was trying to actually reply to those individual. I done actually because if there is some emergency situation, then they can switch. Otherwise, generally under general rule, they cannot switch.
There's another question for you, Mujib Saab.
Yeah.
Can you please tell me the procedure of calling your parents to Ireland if you have critical skills visa?
Yes, under critical skill visa, again, I will say that stamp zero route, because if they are from the say Pakistan, India, Bangladesh, those are the visa required. They have to apply through the um, what is called the pre-clearance procedure. And another circumstances, if they fulfill the criteria of annual earnings, which is 75,000 K plus for the two parents. If there is a one parent, then is a 60,000 for one parent. But for the last 3 years, that is more required. But this in critical, I will say I didn't see any circumstances yet. But because critical skilled migrant get the family visa, the nuclear family means children and a spouse. With their actual visa, when they apply, they can apply for their family. So I will say if they have the dependent family member, they should apply together. That will be more better chances.
Perfect. Thank you very much. Habib or Hamza, do you want to take the next question?
So there was a question regarding urology training post. So what I can say is that from all the conversation that I've heard about from our organizers and panelists, it's all about planning. Have a look at the application, what it demands, and try to get them uh, as much as possible done in Pakistan because it's cheaper and easier to get it done as compared to UK or Ireland. All right. Be focused, plan in advance. Like, what do you want to do? Where do you want to go? And, like make your CV focused around that. I hope that answers your question.
Just to add on to that, so just remember if you're trying to get to Ireland, Ireland is a much smaller market. Okay. So the annual number of, I work closely with the ED training scheme. So the annual number of higher specialty trainees for ED is 18 per year. Okay. Now, if you compare that to UK, so a single deanery in UK would have at least 3 times the number of advanced specialty trainees in ED. So Ireland is a very, very small market. If you are targeting something that is very subspecialized, for example, urology, okay? So remember that the market is small, market is tight. Local Irish graduates, and this is something that I say hands-on and hands-off, they do have much better CVs than you. So you are not being discriminated. They start research from the get-go. They start QI from the get-go. They do audits, presentations, conferences, whatnot and whatnot. So you are against them. So the likelihood of you getting onto the urology training, unless you're fantastic CV and you've built it now, nothing is impossible. Okay. But you have to work really, really, really hard. We have got vascular surgeons from Pakistan, you've got orthopedic surgeons from Pakistan, you've got urologists, we have got neurosurgeons. So nothing is impossible, but you have to actually work everything off to get to that target because it's a really small market.
Yeah, and I will second that because I'm involved in the course specialist training program and IMG program. This is a very fair game. It's not like that they have a hidden agenda to give the Irish graduates some edge over the other people. It's just that that's how we were during our medical education in the college. We had no research, no audits, nothing done in Pakistan. So when we come here, we are competing against a generation who has during their third year have published a maybe systematic review or a meta-analysis, have done audits during their undergrad time. So you have to build your CV to compete with them. Only your clinical experience is not going to do that. It is going to give you some edge, but you have to build your CV as a holistic thing rather than one focused on the clinical aspect. So you have to have research, teaching, audits, and then clinical aspect as well. So it is a fair market. It is, you have to build your CV to compete against the people who are already competing for that job.
Any other questions? think we have hit 90 minutes. We have tried to our best to answer all the questions. Habib Saab and Hamza, is there any question that we have left unanswered?
I think we may have
Of
covered
the
all.
time now. So I think we already covered. So what we have going to do now, we're going to probably wrap up the session because as I said, in terms of mostly question has been answered, but I think theme of the answer, whatever I think Hamza has summarized very well, that be focused on your CV, look for the objective, what you need to achieve, and follow the principle, whatever Yasir has described in terms of application form wise. And Dr. Subay and Dr. Samreen already explained very well about the alternative pathway and also in terms of the training pathway. I think my only message to colleagues who actually missed the initial part that we're going to put this recording on our Apne YouTube channel. Hamza, would you mind to share again? I know you have shared a couple of times, but could you please share again so everybody can know down? They also can register on Apne Facebook page. We're also going to share with our IPPA colleagues, including Mustafa, you and your team as well. So you can share among your friends and all those things. Very helpful, very fruitful webinar. Once again, thank you to all of you to come forward and helping us in this task. We're more than happy to accommodate anyone for educational activities. And we have few in terms of parts still remaining in terms of gynecology, surgical, urology. So I probably need to liaise with Dr. Subay and Dr. Yasir in terms of surgical pathway. Medicine wise, Dr. Samreen and Mustafa, obviously, you always welcome to always to come and work with us in terms of our educational activities. So on this note, I will just hand over to Raja Saab to say a few words or Khalid Bhai to say final words as well. Just to remind you guys, we're going to conduct our final, not final, sorry, annual education show, which is annual webinar of APNE, Association of Pakistani Physicians of Northern Europe, on 28th of September this year. So please, we last time also included IPPA to come forward and do some educational activities. So I'm going to request you guys to be prepared to come forward for those, in terms of education session on that day. It's a health annual health seminar basically. So I will hand over to Raja Saab and Khalid Saab to say conclusion words, and then we could wrap up after that. So thank you once again, guys. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Dr. Habib Haider, Dr. Hamza Inam, Dr. Mustafa Saab, Khalid Saab, everyone. So you have done a great job. And even I have learned a lot of things about training pathways in Ireland. And now even I'm able to give advice to someone. So thank you very much for this very informative webinar. So just to add to Dr. Habib Haider's, he already mentioned that there is a one-day seminar on 28th of September. So please register for that webinar once we start registration. And there is also our annual gala dinner that will be held on 31st of August this year in International Convention Center, Birmingham. So that is a whole day program. So that includes CME sessions, poster presentation, good opportunity to meet with your friends, make a new friends, and there would be a plenary session. So we will discuss different hot topics related to National Health Service, and our Irish colleagues can bring their Irish hot topics as well. And after that, in the evening, one famous Pakistani singer will appear on that show, and that would be a fantastic if all of you join us on 31st of December. Thank you very much, our sister organization, IPPA, for helping us to organize this webinar for our young doctors. So I back to you, Habib. So please invite Dr. Khalsa.
Thank you, Raja Saab. Khalid Saab. I'm just going to ask Khalid Bhai to come and then say final words, please.
Thanks very much, Habib Saab, Raja Saab. And I say especially thanks to everybody. I won't take names for everybody. We know means all the panelists. You guys were excellent and a great advice to our juniors. And that is the main purpose. Why we gathered together, why we got on with Apne, because we are on the same page, same motive. We want to help our juniors. We don't want people to have go through the same kind of tough time and invent the wheel again. So, but one thing, my advice to all juniors is there is no shortcut for achieving the top post. You have to either you get a training scheme or you come from an alternate pathway. You have to put your efforts, get your things in a proper way so you can achieve. On the different note, I just thanks Raja Saab and Habib Saab for inviting us for this Apne annual and CME events. We've been attending for the last 4 years, and it's a pleasure to attend. It's very enjoyable. So, inshallah, we will attend with as many people as possible, the whole team of IPPA. And we are also hopefully in some kind of more evolution phase. And we will get more our juniors, our youngsters, which is our main purpose to give them chance to come and lead and come forward, as you have seen. So I think our future for IPPA and APNE is our youngsters, our juniors, and we as seniors will be in the back and support them. Thanks very much, everyone.
Thank you, Khalid Bhai. For the conclusion, Mustafa, I would like to say a few words, please.
Thank you, Apni, for providing us with this opportunity. And I've taken a lot of screen time and I've taken a lot of time here as well. So I'll just say that a brilliant opportunity, happy to advise and happy to collaborate in future as well. Thank you.
Thank you. I definitely will liaise with your colleagues, especially Alternative Pathway, Dr. Subhi and Yasir, and also Dr. Sameen Tariq regarding some of the activities, and also need your services, and including Abdullah regarding emergency webinars, because we have a platform on our website, on Apne website is called Apne Virtual and Learning Career and Guidance Academy. So I would like to include you guys for that part in terms of educational activities. And obviously, this recording will be shared on Apne YouTube channel and Apne Facebook as well. So thank you everyone for joining us today, and look forward to see you guys soon. And once again, Mustafa and your team, hats off to you. Thank you.